Zofia, distinguished guests, it's hard to think what to say after hearing that poem. Because the events that took place at Vancouver International Airport and the tragedy that befell Robert was something that shook this province and shook our country and reverberated around the world, that something like that, such a terrible tragedy, could happen here in BC, could happen here in Vancouver, could happen here at an airport which we all are justly proud, and could involve an institution, the RCMP, which is an icon in our country. And the video that came to surface that Paul Pritchard took shocked us, I think, in a way that people haven't been shocked for quite some time. It generated an outrage. And I look around this room and I see many of you whom were at the steps of the courthouse in Vancouver, demanding answers to questions that I think everybody in this room had, and everybody in this province and in this country, and in fact people around the world had, of ensuring that something, a tragedy like this, never happens again, and that events like this are never swept under the carpet, because the foundation of our country.
At this point in time, I'd like to ask Zygmunt Riddle-Przetakiewicz to come up and say a few words.
We gathered here today to embrace Roberta Dziekański's mother with our love, compassion and support. It is difficult to imagine what you have gone through, Zofia, but I can assure you, you have our hearts, our minds and dedication, and we will not forsake you. Our additional commitment comes from the fact that you are one of those great people where there is no difference between principles and the person objectives. I remember talking to you on Mother's Day, when you were concerned with all mothers that what happened to you must be prevented from happening again. So we are here to make sure that justice is done eventually, and we will support you, Zofia, on that as well. We know, Zofia, you are looking for justice to be executed not only to you and Robert, but also to all of us Canadians. You are our leader. Your great human quality has been manifested through Robert, a very good man, who one day wrote you on a postcard. People become good by doing good. It is rare that the person is good by nature alone. Goodness does not exist so one can make use of it. Goodness does not flow from a place of weakness, but one of power. Robert was murdered because his individual civil rights were trampled upon. And our justice system is broken because our democracy is in crisis. Our provincial and federal political leaders remain cautiously indifferent, still hiding under the guise of process. We have been failed not only by RCMP, but also by our politicians. It threatens our safety and freedoms in a democracy. As the years pass since 9/11, the power of the government becomes more and more pervasive. We are taxpayers, we are citizens, and more importantly, we are voters. You serve us, we do not serve you. You can fire your taser at us, but we can fire back at you at the ballot box come next election. Canadians want good government that serves and respects the wishes of the people, not a police state that tasers and kills innocent people, then lies about it, lies about the circumstances surrounding the killing, and tries desperately to cover it all up. Let's be humble. We will not change the world, but let's never doubt that even a small group of thoughtful, peaceful and committed citizen can start changing the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. And let's realize that with the sacrifice death of Robert Dziekański, our modern Canadian history is in making in front of our eyes. Our firm stand in defense of civil rights and democracy, in pursuit of the truth and justice, through the power of media and internet, will protect Canada from becoming a police state.
I would now like to ask Green Party of Canada member Ryan Windsor to come up and speak.
It occurred to me that in 2003, we decided that we were going to host the Olympics. And so the next 7 years was going to be spent testing how we would receive people from all over the world. And in 2007, we failed miserably. And it is the responsibility of our politicians and our society. And the police are part of that society. What occurs to me is, there's no one at the airport to welcome the visitors to Vancouver. And they come from every country.
I'd like to ask Don Rosenblum, Polish government lawyer, to come up and speak now.
Zofia and guests, thank you for your support in coming out this evening. For the last 5 months, I've spoken on behalf of the government of Poland. Tonight, I have the luxury that I can speak on my own behalf and not on behalf of the government of Poland. It's been an incredible privilege to be a participant in the inquiry before Mr. Braidwood. But sadly, you probably think that for myself and other lawyers that it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. In my case, it isn't once in a lifetime. What most of you don't know is that when I got called to the bar in 1970, 1 month after I got called to the bar, I was a lawyer at a public inquiry conducted here in Vancouver in respect to allegations of RCMP misconduct with 3 police officers. And just as with this inquiry in front of Mr. Braidwood, the issues were not only RCMP misconduct, but customs and immigration officer misconduct. And so sadly, this wasn't the first experience that I had dealing with issues as controversial as we were dealing with before Mr. Braidwood. I want to mention something about Mr. Pritchard. Everybody else that's spoken, or most of you have made mention of him. It's sad that he couldn't be here tonight and receive the credit that I think he deserves. I was quoted in the Vancouver Sun a couple days ago that Mr. Pritchard is truly one of my heroes. And he is, because he had the wherewithal not only to record this incident, this tragedy, but he recorded the entire incident from beginning to end, from the RCMP arrival at the terminal until the tragic events that we all know. And had he videoed the incident, as you might have expected, with 15 seconds here and 20 seconds there, believe me, one would have anticipated that the RCMP would have explained themselves away by mentioning that during the pauses in the video, things happened that, of course, weren't recorded by Mr. Pritchard. But he recorded the entire incident, and that is really a unique story in respect to this situation. And Mr. Pritchard are obviously important participants in at least bringing out the facts of what happened in this tragic event. That there will be judicial inquiries where police officers will have to speak under oath and inform the public as to why they conducted themselves in whatever manner they chose. And that is the most important outcome, in my opinion, of the Braidwood inquiry. Putting aside Mr. Braidwood's recommendations, and believe me, they will be important, but the fact is that the process itself surely will put the police on notice that on occasion, our society will put them on the stand and will expect them to be accountable for their actions. And for that, I'm proud of my participation in the inquiry, because I think that it is a lesson that has been learned by both our national police force and by all police officers and other persons in authority in this country.